This is Coda Radio, episode 150 for April 20th, 2015. Hi everyone, and welcome to Coda Radio, Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly talk show, taking a pragmatic look at the art and business of software development and related technologies. This episode is brought to you by our two fine sponsors, DigitalOcean and Linux Academy. To tell you more about those great sponsors as this here show goes on. My name is Chris, and joining us every single week is our excellent host, who is, at least this week, established on the East Coast. Why, yes, it's Mr. Michael Dominic. Hey there, Michael.
Nisa here?
No, that's not Michael. No, that's not what he sounds like. He doesn't sound like frickin' Jar Jar Binks. Dang, I'm already on the bell. I'm moving that away.
What's the use of saying?
I'm saying, get Jar Jar out of here. I got a show to do. Every time Jar Jar's on, the ratings drop. You know, right there on the top of the show, you just... Oh, man, they're gonna... What if people thought? What if this is the first episode?
Okay, wait. Jar Jar is an essential character to the show.
No. You see, listen. I don't care. I know you're good friends with George Lucas, and I know that's a secret that we haven't shared with the audience for 150 weeks. But I got to put it out there now, and I got to tell you, don't listen to George.
Well, let me tell you. Did you read the article on that Darth Maul game, the really awesome-looking one they were going to make?
Yeah, sure, probably.
So I was having, a cigar with George Lucas. We call them fatties.
As you do.
As we do. And I said, George, this game's too good, and frankly, it doesn't feature Jar Jar.
Right.
So I think we got to kill it.
Right.
And bankrupt the studio working on it. What do you think?
Well, and
of course.
If I recall, it's so funny because I remember when you told me about this, and I thought, man, this reminds me about the time you were hanging out with the guys at Atari and giving them ideas on that E.T. game. And I thought, that's almost the same story all over again, only...
You know what? Play it and then judge me.
Yeah, I agree, if you can go dig it up. Hey, so I'm pretty excited. This is the last time I'll ever talk to you again over Skype. No, actually, it's not true at all.
We're having a divorce. It's going to be messy. Yeah.
Speaking of divorce, did you have a good weekend?
I did. It was my wedding anniversary in the city of Baltimore, which I've never been to before.
How is Baltimore?
Baltimore is like Mecca for me. There is lots of beer and lots of food.
I've heard it's horrible.
Chips.
I heard it's really horrible.
Really? You've heard that?
No, I haven't heard that.
I heard that like Washington State as a whole is just awful.
No, I'm sorry, what? No, as long as you pay all your taxes, you're fine.
Well, that's not
They give out free weed if you pay your gas taxes here. So...
I kind of believe that, actually. Which reminds me, so when I come to the airport, you're not picking me up, right, you stoner bastard?
Right, yeah.
Right. Someone sober is going to... Okay, good.
Well, no, there's nobody sober in the state. Yeah, no, but we could have somebody come in from maybe Oregon. No, that's not going to be any good. Idaho, but over there it's meth, so you take your pick.
Can we get a nice Canadian to come get me?
Yeah, the Canadian should be in town. He's usually sober as a stone, too, so you should be all right.
He's a pretty straight-edge guy.
So you're in Maryland, huh? I
was in Maryland. I just got back to the great state of New Jersey, where they kill us if we don't say that.
It's the 26th most populous city in the country, Baltimore is. Did you know that?
I can see why. They have lots of food.
Yeah. Average hotel runs you about $160 there, but if you want a really nice one, it's $540. Like a really, really nice one.
Oh, yeah, nowhere near that.
No. So you and the wife just went over and celebrated the anniversary, huh?
Yeah, it was a nice short weekend.
Yeah, it's so nice when you don't have kids. God, I'm so jealous of you. Oh,
hey,
man.
Listen.
The idea where I would just go stay in a hotel over the weekend.
Send me your kids, I'll put them to work.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Everybody needs to learn how to code, I'm told. We need STEM.
Why not?
Yeah, we need STEM.
And let's be honest, anybody could write VB, so, I mean...
Well, I'm glad you spent a little time with the lady, because is she coming with you out to Linux Fest?
She is not. She's minding the store while I'm gone.
That's what I figured.
She's one of those. I shouldn't say it, but she used to work for Microsoft. She's a bit of a, how do we say, lame fuddy-duddy.
Ooh, ouch, yikes. Yeah. No, I think this is a good 1-2 maneuver. So you get the wife time in on the anniversary last weekend, and then this coming weekend, you're going to be joining us at Linux Fest Northwest, April 25th and 26th. Mr. Dominic will be here in studio. The following Coda Radio, we'll be doing 2 Coda Radios. So totally send in lots of your feedback and join us in the chat room for a double Coda Radio with Mr. Dominic in studio.
And I intend to heckle all of the presenters. So it's going to be a challenge because some of them are at the same time.
Yes.
But I'm going to find a way.
If you could somehow, what I would do is I would just lump the BSD guys together, right? So you could do Chris Moore and Alan Jude, just put them together in like a category. That's what I do. And then I don't know, like you could just pick other things about Noah, like just pick out something about Noah and just go for it.
They're letting the BSD guys in the door? It seems.
We will look back at this time, and people will play this clip right here. So mark it down. Go to Radio 150, where Mr. Dominic, years before it happened, called it. But this is a horrible, horrible idea. They come in with these Trojan horse horns that they give out to all the Linux users, and before you know it, you have an entire Linux conference walking around looking like a bunch of BSD mascots.
Like they're just kind of whispering, "Manifest."
Yeah, it happens everywhere they go. And you know what the worst part is? They're all super nice and like and like reasonable to have conversations with and stuff. So like they constantly are convincing you to try. It's horrible. It's horrible. So it's absolutely. They're polite. They bring like swag. They show off hardware. They talk about their file system that's amazing. It's super super frustrating, and it's egregious and completely inappropriate. And Linux guys would never stoop to that level.
Now, having said that, I would love a new laptop, and I am very much for sale. I am an Apple developer, so,
Yeah.
My lack of scruples is a feature, not a bug.
So, what manner of beastie smartphone are you rolling with these days? Are you?
I'm rolling the I was gonna go for a Patrick Swayze joke, but I'm just gonna let it go.
Yeah, you're gonna go with one of the iDevices, huh? Okay.
Well, I'm rolling the iPhone 6.
Okay, all right.
Because
right.
I'm.
Are you in the IRC today? Yeah, you're in the IRC today.
I am.
Yeah, all right. I'm gonna link you. So I already told you about this, but we're all gonna be up on using Telegram probably to communicate while we're at the events and stuff. So when you land and stuff like that, we're all on there. We've already got groups going and stuff. So like when you want to be like, we've already got people in there chatting about like flight info and things like that. So you can grab that Telegram app and then. I think it'll tell me. I don't know how that works.
So I was going to assume the person picking me up was just the guy with the biggest beard. Was that?
We don't actually let Rikai drive. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. In fact, it's pretty rare he leaves the studio. I'm not so sure. So I've never done a show without Rikai. Well, that's not true. But the Beard Apocalypse week was a rough week. I mean, so you saw what happened when he leaves the studio.
Yeah.
So essentially, I have convinced him to never leave. It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
So what if I broke into the studio and rescued Rikai? Operation Rikai Freedom.
See, I'm a little insulted right now. Mr. Dominic, you know what really grinds my gears, Mr. Dominic? You know what?
You know what really grinds my gears?
The poor video effects on Linux?
Wow.
Sorry.
Yes, but that's a separate topic. You see, you don't give me enough credit. You
all right.
You don't give me enough. You don't understand how I roll. I make him want to stay here. He wants to be trapped in here. I've convinced him to stay.
So you're like the guy giving, drugs to little kids outside the school, basically.
So you could ask him to leave, and he's not even gonna do it.
That's not good.
No, actually, he just prefers. You know what? No, don't judge. I don't even know why we're talking about this.
Rikai, I'm coming.
All right, you come rescue him, and I want you to take him out. I want you to get him drunk, but do not hurt that beard. That is our good luck charm. And if anything happens to that, I might go off the air for a week. So as long as you take him out and don't harm the beard, I'll allow it.
What if I shaved his beard and we painted his face orange?
Only if I can wear it after you. Just cut it so that way I can wear it. So I can wear like Rikai's beard.
I think we have a great startup idea here.
I think this just got weird. I think we should move to another topic.
We should just move right along.
This is not good. All right, so go get Telegram. I linked it in the chat room. Install that crap so that way we can find you and talk to you and stuff like that. Right. I know we have a topic to get to today, so why don't we just take a moment and we'll thank our first sponsor this week because something really major happened since we last gathered here today at the Coda Radio program, and that's our friends over at Linux Academy. They had a huge update. So here, everybody get started. Go to linuxacademy.coders, linuxacademy.com/coders chat room. Go there right now, too, if you haven't been there, and go check them out. linuxacademy.com/coders. Land there so that way you get the Coda Radio discount if you decide to move forward. So, for a little while now, I've been telling you they've had a big content update coming on April 16th. Well, April 16th arrived, and I'm still processing. I just got the email this morning on a recap of some of the amazing things that they have done. I'm really kind of blown away. They had a huge live show last Thursday. They gave away a ton of swag, answered questions, and announced a lot of new features. So kind of a summary of what they announced is they have new courses in depth with start to finish training, not just simple how-tos, but really to provide training, but also content that is relevant to the tasks that you're going to face in your everyday work. So Linux Academy has courseware that is super relevant to our audience. They have the best people to design this stuff because they're truly passionate about the content. So that means it's really created by people that are, like, for example, only people who really care about Linux and Linux enthusiasts are going to design a system where there's 7+ Linux distributions you get to choose from. The courseware and the virtual machines all automatically adjust to match that courseware. Like, who else is going to do that kind of thing except for people that are genuine enthusiasts? And this is something kind of neat. This is a great idea. They're introducing also another feature on the other end. So they have like the really in-depth stuff where you're going to walk away and have actually an idea of how to face tasks in your every day-to-day work. I love that in-depth kind of style because it gives you that confidence. But on the other end of the spectrum, they're also introducing something called Nuggets. Nuggets are now available in the top navigation area when you log in over at Linux Academy. These are standalone video how-tos that don't belong necessarily in a full course because they don't necessarily like follow a specific training path, but they're everyday tasks that you might encounter on a regular basis as an engineer. So this is sort of like, go here, you can even repeat these nuggets from time to time and help you get more familiar with these tasks, stuff you might be able to relate to. It's not required content in any of the courseware. It's just additional great content now available over at Linux Academies. Also, they've introduced profiles, so this is really cool when you factor in the fact that you get achievements and things like that. I want you to read more about that on their website. And the Founders Club, more information on their website on that as well. So you're going to get like early content access and stuff like that. It's really cool. And they've also started a grant. Yeah. The Linux Academy Foundation Open Source Grant Program. Any open source license project can apply for this grant through Linux Academy. They're going to have a page up, and I'm going to tell you more about that very soon. But they're going to be looking for applications from open source projects to receive either part or all of a $5,000 grant from Linux Academy. They want to better the community, and they're excited to have the help of the Founders Club and the members and funds they've raised to do this. And again, I go back to the people that are genuinely enthusiastic and passionate about this content. And now they're going to help some projects out there get a little extra funding. Go to linuxacademy.com/coder. linuxacademy.com. Go check them out. They're really great. linuxacademy.com/coders. Get our special Coder Radio discount. That's Coder Radio. And also supports the Coder Radio program. So that way you can kind of say, hey, thanks for sponsoring Coder Radio. Thanks for keeping them going. And you get the discount. You can check out all the content, all the new stuff they're adding. linuxacademy.com/coders. And congratulations to Linux Academy for the huge content update. Wow, you guys. All right, take a breather. Enjoy the weekend. It's getting real nice out, Linux Academy. It's just, that's amazing. You guys are just kicking butt over there. All right, Mr. Dominic. Now, would you like to jump into your topic, or would you like to warm up with a little feedback? I say it's Dominic's choice.
Whoa. That sounds incredible. Let me jump into my topics. I think my topic could be a conversation starter, and if the chat room jumps in, we'll,
totally
try to hear them out.
Okay, I love it.
So, Chris, I've been thinking of making a change. One of those operations you see about on the Bravo network.
Yes, I do know what you're referring to, but I don't think that's the actual change you're talking about.
You alluded to it a couple weeks ago that I might be, switching the gears a little bit. And I'm exploring opportunities, getting a J.O.B. job, where I was kind of am. Just kind of poking my head up above the sand like an ostrich.
Saying maybe enough with the rat race of contracting, maybe going for a 9-to-5 kind of thing.
Yeah, you know what the best thing about clients is? When they pay you.
I was going to say when you don't have them.
Oh. You know what the worst thing about clients is?
What's
they
that?
Sometimes don't pay you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it's I've been exploring, not necessarily, for sure, not necessarily whatever, right? It's kind of an expeditionary force, you could say. And wow, people are crazy now. I haven't done this in years.
Oh, what do you mean?
And the world has changed. I feel like Frodo coming out of the Shire, and everything's gone down to shit. Like, everything is crazy.
Yeah, you know what? I have had that same sensation when I was working with my buddy Chase to look for a job, and just like they want everything under the sun too. And
well, so I have turned down 3 very well-paying offers. Would you like to know why?
Yeah.
You want to do them in order? Offer number one, the guy gives me the offer and brags about how they often never get out of the office till 11:30 at night.
Oh.
Gone. Offer number two was, and we're hoping to get more funding soon.
Oh.
Gone. Offer number three was actually the least painful, but the most awful process I've ever gone through to get any work in my life. It was, I went through it just because I'm kind of trying to see, is it just me or am I, the questions people are asking have nothing to do with anything. Like these weird brain teasers, and you finally get the job, you finally get the offer, but it's like, dude, you're such a dick. Like, why would I ever want to work here?
Yeah, you worry, like, what does that mean, like, the job would be? How does that reflect on the culture?
Well, I'm always thinking, like, so if this is how obnoxious you are interviewing, what happens if I get, like, a stomach flu, right? Like, I'm thinking, like, the very mundane, you're not a robot kind of problems you could have. You need to call in sick or whatever. To be clear, we're not talking Microsoft, Apple, Google, any of those guys here. We're talking significantly smaller, basically high risk. You're crazy if you take these job startups. So I was kind of wanting to take the temperature, put the thermometer in the butt of the audience a little bit.
Sure, yeah.
Is this normal now? Because like having been on the other side of the table, I never put people through these kind of things. And not all of them did, but it seems like there's a whole like culture of paranoia.
I was wondering too if it's like if the interview isn't like you almost like it's part of the show. How rigorous the interview is almost part of the show.
And the last one I kind of felt like they were trying to show me that it was, not going to be like a big fish little pond kind of thing, which I never thought going in. Right? I'm not a dick basically.
C-Spin in the chat room says it's an East Coast thing.
Maybe it is. I mean, because I'm on the East Coast.
I don't know. I was interviewed by Google, and I was put off by all the stupid, dumb questions that I felt. So it was for a sysadmin position at Google many years ago.
Right.
And it was the whole interview was nothing but a series of mind game questions, and I'm not particularly good when put on the spot with those kinds of things, and so I think it sort of put me on the defensive a little bit. But I handled the interview fine. But afterwards, when I was done, I thought I didn't like the way that felt. Like it almost was like, let's not care about what he can do and what his experience has been, and let's just come up with something we think is really clever and see if he thinks it's really clever and is as clever as we are, or I don't know exactly the mind. It's almost like, look at this ingenious thing that we've come up with that we are now going to subject you to. Look how clever we are.
So one question that really, really put me off was, this is interviewing for an iOS developer job. Keep that in mind, right? It's like lead iOS or whatever. How do you reverse a linked list? And I give an answer, and then I followed up with, by the way, there are no linked lists in iOS. So I'm just, I definitely got the feeling that like that person in particular was trying to, show off a little bit. And I have on the train back, I'm thinking, what is going on here? Is this some weird like salary negotiation tactic where they try to make you feel like you could learn something there so that you'll be more willing to?
Yeah, Alex Bell, and you know what? When I was done, I had this feeling. What Alex Bell just says in the chat room, he says part of it is the elitist Stanford grads giving you the one of us questions, and that's exactly what it felt like. And I sat back and I thought, I think what they're trying to do is determine my ability to problem solve. But the problem was I was so distracted by this sort of unorthodox line of questioning, especially for 7, 8 years ago. And I was so perplexed by this unorthodox and how it felt like it doesn't reflect on my abilities at all, and how I felt sort of disadvantaged by all of a sudden I've been giving this question that doesn't allow me to actually express what my capabilities are, even in how I can communicate very well, like in different it just is like I was so off-put and distracted by all of that very little of my actual attention was on solving the problem.
Well, part of it was it felt like pub trivia, but a lot of it wasn't relevant. A lot of it was, I got the classic wire a manhole covers around, right? By the way, if anybody asks you that question, the correct answers are because a circle won't fall into itself, but also thank you for your time. I'm no longer interested. Why? I mean, I guess that's what I'm asking. Is it me, Chris? Have I been out of it too long, right? Like,
I don't know. I look at the chat room and it's interesting. So one, and it's possible. Day 420 says it's a test of emotional sensitivity. How do I react under pressure? But JB Hawk of Truth says it's silly because you wouldn't do this to a lawyer or an animator, and that I completely agree with.
You know, that's a great point, right? If you're interviewing an attorney, you would ask them about cases they've tried or settlements they've reached if they can discuss it, which is kind of what I expected, right? I kind of expected to talk about projects I'd done and like the technical details of those and walking through how I solved the problem, maybe getting questioned on my solution and maybe pointing out flaws in it, but not random crap. And I think, Jacob has a point. Maybe they're trying to, or was it Jacob? Yeah, Jacob. Maybe they're trying to, needle you a little bit to see if you'll get annoyed.
Yeah, and that's what I was, and so I did stay, because that crossed my mind, but see, even that now is running through my head. Is this a test of, is how I handle the test a test? Like, that's a double-layered extraction of distraction now. Double-layer extraction of distraction.
Here's the problem. So if you annoy someone, then give them an offer because you're super excited that you'd be able to land them. And then they decline the offer because they don't want to work with the guy who harassed them for 2.5 hours. You've wasted everybody's time, right? I can't, maybe I'm too touchy-feely, but I would not want to work in an environment where the guy sitting next to me is going to be like, are you sure you want to do it that way? Which is kind of what it feels like.
Gosh. Yeah. Yeah, especially if it's anything creative.
Yeah.
So here's also, I think, another contributor to this. And part of it is, so I think we've kind of focused on the probably the most negative likely reason people do this. Another reason is, and we've lamented about this on the show, is you have these people that are doing these interviews. They're not qualified to choose which candidate should come in and when they should move on to the next level. It's just not, and they could be not qualified in the technical sense. They could be not qualified in the communication skill sense or in the position sense. Like, there's so many things that can disqualify these people that are interviewing candidates that as a corporation, your solution to this is to create a regime standardized way to conduct these interviews. That way you can slot these slobs in and out as they leave, and you don't care about them. You just, here's your script, follow this. These are the questions we ask. You don't need to worry about individual thought and ask these questions, and that standardizes the whole process and means that anybody can ask these questions and you see how they do because the answer is always the same.
Well, it's, and I want to make sure I'm not overstating my argument here. I'm not saying that a couple screening questions are bad.
No, yeah.
But I'm just saying if you're talking to someone who you do your screening questions, and then you're talking to someone who obviously has projects that they've obviously done and can prove that they did, right? Wouldn't that be a more productive conversation to know how they think?
Yeah.
Maybe I try. So here's what I heard from people, because I did ask one guy, well, let me ask you this, because it wasn't a good fit. And I said, well, why do you do this? He claimed, which I find it very, very hard to believe, but he claimed that there are lots of people that recruiters will send them that straight up lie, or the recruiter straight up makes stuff up.
I was going to play a little devil's advocate here, and I was just going to say, well, and it's not just that. So you have to kind of weed out just sort of the total duds, but also, as a business owner, I consider like one of the most risky and expensive things I could possibly do is hire somebody. And so, to me, I've got to make sure that when I'm making that investment in a person, it's not just because they know how to do the job I need done today. I need to know that in 2 to 3 years, as the job changes, they will have the skill set to adapt and problem solve to the new job as that job evolves, i.e., I need to know I can make an investment in them. And so in this very awkward, limited, forced mechanism of determining if I want to invest a very critical part of my business into this person, I have got to be able to determine if they have the capability to properly problem solve troubles that I believe to relate to the relative complexity of problems they might encounter in the job they'd be going for. So, ergo, let me ask them this really off-the-wall question, even though it has familiarity and complexity to a problem they might hit on the job. That's probably the business reason for it, right?
I guess. I mean, I'm trying, because, I've been on both sides of the table, and for junior people, we did FizzBuzz, right? We actually made them take a test, which I even felt a little uncomfortable about, but things were getting just too painful not to do that.
So you went to FizzBuzz.
Right. So I went to FizzBuzz, but if you passed FizzBuzz, we would talk about the things you'd worked on in school or whatever, and it would take a much more kind of, not crazy disrespectful tone.
Right, and I would go back to, because my counter argument to my devil's advocate argument that I just made is, well, show me the GitHub page, and I can probably get a pretty good idea of what kind of problem solving you've done.
Like if I were to continue doing this, I think I would, in a cover letter, just show a bunch of code, a bunch of open source, and hopefully just short circuit that whole process.
Yeah.
Because here's the other thing, like I had one company email me back a quiz and they refused to tell me what the company was. So I just replied, thank you, but it's not really a great use of my time if I can't even see if it's something I want to pursue.
Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. That always feels really weird when they try to hide that information from you.
Right, like, oh, we're a stealth startup. That's nice.
Yeah, I've got a large software maker in your area that's very interested in hiring you. They're asking me not to share the name right now, but you've probably heard of them. And then, so I'm, of course, what do I start thinking of? So if I'm in my area, Amazon, Adobe, and Microsoft come to mind.
Sure.
And then, of course, it's not any of them at all, ever. It's some Bothell-based small little company that I've never heard of. And it's just that kind of stuff drove me nuts. That was one of the things that got me out of trying to get a J.O.B. completely.
And maybe it's recruiters, right? Maybe recruiters are the
leeches.
What do they call it? Right, the leeches or the fly in the ointment here, because I have a buddy who was interviewing for jobs, and the recruiters can be pretty aggressive about pushing you on a company, right?
Yeah.
And they might do some things that are less than.
Why hasn't this been quote unquote disrupted? Why isn't there a Tinder for jobs? Like, why is this not better?
Well, shouldn't GitHub just be that? Shouldn't it be like, oh, this guy applied for a job, let me check his GitHub page. Oh, he has some open source code here. Okay, he's obviously not lying, so we can do a normal, hey, are you a cultural fit? Are you an axe murderer?
There have been times where if I had more free time, I've thought I should just launch a Jupiter Broadcasting job board, because then at least there's some bar, because the bar is you listen to Jupiter Broadcasting content. That's actually a pretty good starting bar for a hiring and job site right there. So you put them there, and then to see what jobs people who listen have available and see what jobs the people who listen need, you meet them up. I've always thought that would be just so crazy that really smart people are just sitting out there that can't get work, and there's really smart people out there that need to have jobs done, and then we go through this inane, frustrating process.
In their defense, right, devil's advocate, I can totally understand hiring kids out of college why you're doing this.
Okay, all right.
Because I've interviewed dozens of them, and oh my God, get your money back.
Yeah.
Have those loans discharged or whatever you need to do. But someone who can, again, show you a GitHub page, show you projects, say, go download this. Do you need to do it? And even if you do, ask your one or two questions. It's funny because for years, right? And Chris, I'm sure this happens to you. You get the recruiters emailing you. I had to take my phone number off. When I used to post my resume, I had to take it off my resume because you'd get the blind phone calls, right? Just straight code calls.
Yeah, and you'd just be sitting at your current job, and your phone rings, and you're like, who the? Oh, it's a job recruiter. And then when the job's bad, I'm like, I gotta take this, and I go talk to them, and I immediately regret it. Yeah, I've been.
Well, and you feel like in fact, I had one of those earlier where it was like, oh, and this great company, and then I heard what they did, and I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, good tip. Take the phone number off the resume.
Yeah, definitely take it off.
Mr. Dominic, I have another great tip for you. That's our friends over at DigitalOcean. Now, this is a tip that I can stand by. I have for a while. I just set up a DigitalOcean droplet over the weekend with 2 gigabytes of RAM for my son Dylan, who, for his birthday, we gave him a Linux laptop that runs Minecraft. And then my wife said to me, well, I'd like to be able to play with him too. And I thought, now I need a Minecraft server. It went from, here's your laptop with Minecraft, to now Dad needs to build a Minecraft server. And I looked around, and I looked at all the different pricing for dedicated Minecraft servers. And when I saw what I wanted to do and at the capacity I wanted, it was a no-brainer to go with DigitalOcean. Because not only do I have control over this Minecraft server, but I'm going to get all the other benefits of DigitalOcean. So it is... Wait. You don't know what those benefits are? Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you about DigitalOcean because they rock. DigitalOcean is a simple cloud hosting provider dedicated, offering the most intuitive and easy way to spin up your own cloud server. You get root access. You want to put a Minecraft server on that thing? I don't care. Put a GitLab server on that thing. Shoot, you can do it. And you get started in less than 55 seconds, and pricing plans start at only $5 a month. $5 a month. That'll get you 512 megabytes of RAM. a 20 gigabyte SSD, 1 CPU, and a terabyte of transfer. And DigitalOcean has data center locations in New York, San Francisco, Singapore, Amsterdam, London, brand new one in Germany I'll tell you about here in just a second. But what I really love about DigitalOcean, aside from all of that, the value and how fast it is to get started, the fact that it's built on top of Linux and KVM SSDs throughout the entire infrastructure, tier 1 bandwidth at their data centers. Besides all of that, I love their control panel. It is so clean and simple, very intuitive. And you can replicate the functionality of their control panel with their ever-improving API. They just released version 2.0 of the DigitalOcean API, and it is slick. Everything you can do in that control panel, you can do in that API. Or maybe build beyond that. If you were like me, though, you'd probably just take advantage of a lot of the stuff the community has already created. Tons of great apps, resources, libraries you can use for your perfect and favorite and unbelievably incredible Rust language or Python or, of course, maybe even something for an iOS or Android application. All kinds of great things already built out there for the community as well for your desktops and your mobile devices. And then they have tons and tons and tons of grade A tutorials. Really good stuff edited by professionals. Available at DigitalOcean.com. So use our promo code, CoderDigital. That's how you support the Coder Radio program. That's how we do another 150 episodes, is you use that promo code, CoderDigital, over at DigitalOcean. That gets you a $10 credit. You can try out that $5 rig, 2 months for free, no credit card required. You apply it to your account, CoderDigital, one word, lowercase. Go create your droplet. Apply CoderDigital to your account. Get the $10 credit. Go play with Core OS. Containerization's pretty neat stuff. Go deploy your own GitLab, Ruby on Rails Docker. Tons of great apps. DigitalOcean.com, Coder Digital, when you want that $10 credit. And also, maybe consider firing up a droplet in their new German region. This is pretty nice. They've got 40 gigabit networking on each hypervisor. They've got super fast, their fastest yet SSDs. And it's sitting on the right smack dab on the German Commercial Internet Exchange, the largest internet exchange point worldwide by peak traffic. Serves Germany's neighborhood countries with unparalleled connectivity and speeds. And you can be plugged in right there for $5 a month. And you can try it 2 months for free when you use the promo code CoderDigital. Thanks, DigitalOcean, for sponsoring the Coder Radio program. Now, Mr. Dominic, I got a very interesting bit of email from Daniel I wanted to read to you.
Oh, no.
Yes. Daniel writes in, "Hi there. I just wanted to start out by saying that I'm a new listener, but I already love the show, and I started into your archive of podcasts. I like the combination of a casual, but yet conversational format with topics and contents that are interesting and educational and career relevant." Well, thanks for the ego stroke, Daniel. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
But here's the cool part. This is why I pulled the email. While listening to the podcast, I came across your mention of the Open Your Mouth Recipes site. And I wondered if someone had made an iOS client app yet. I imagine this would allow users to browse, favorite, and print recipes in mobile-friendly UI. I ask because I'm interested in creating or contributing to one, which would, of course, be open source. Cheers, Daniel. Daniel, my friend, there is a web UI, but there is no dedicated iOS app. And as the summertime is approaching, and people could be looking to maybe barbecue out, and they have a smartphone with them, and they want to check the recipes, that could be very, very handy. OpenYourMouth.recipes is still out there, too, if you want to contribute to it or look up some great recipes contributed by the community. Isn't that pretty cool? What do you think? Should Daniel make us an iOS? Do you approve of such an action, Mr. Dominic?
My name is Bill Clinton, and I approve of this measure.
I approve. All right, we have one more from Lee. Working at customer support, dear Chris and Mike, I loved your discussion about the guy's blog post that left Apple. Mike mentioned how customer support jobs suck. Well, I'm writing this to say that they are great, and why I think every developer should at least experience it for a couple of months. Now, I stopped right there. And I remember when I was working at the bank that I worked at for a long time, I started in the help desk and then moved into the server area. And I really believe the generation of techs that did that with me, the first generation of techs that started at the help desk and then graduated up to the servers, and then the next generation of techs they just brought right in as server admins from other banks and just brought them right to the server admin role, and they had never been through the help desk. They did not have a very good way to interact with the customers, or quote-unquote customers, really the end users. They really could not interact with them. They didn't know how to translate tech to user or user to tech, and they would like during a slam, like when we had a major outage, they were completely useless on the phones. And I remember thinking, boy, to really be a good server administrator, it helps to actually have gone through the help desk. So he kind of has the same thing. He says, you train to be abused. Like you can handle that pressure when people are mad at you. You have conversational techniques you pick up. You learn how your users think. That's a great one. You become great at explaining technical concepts in such a simplified way that the average Joe will understand. Another great one. Learn to say no. Sometimes the best way to help a person is telling them honestly something they're doing is not wise or technically possible. Overall, you must have these soft skills. I must mention that these apply mainly to technical support. I experienced the above by working at a web hosting company. Thanks for the show, Lee. Well, Lee, thank you for the great point. I think it does help, too, to have a little experience in customer support. I think it helps when you're making a product for them and all kinds of stuff all around. So I thought that was pretty good. Thank you, Lee. Mr. Dominic, is there any other topics you wanted to cover in your interview topic?
No, I think we're good. I'm going to continue the investigation, and we'll see how it goes.
The investigation continues. Well, now, let's see, 2 episodes next week. We could open up the Mumble Room, too, for the second episode, although I was thinking we may have folks in town we might want to just bring in studio, too. So there could be a lot going on for the next 2 weeks.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, that could be pretty wicked. I have 2 links I'm going to toss in the show notes for you guys. I haven't put them in there yet. I will add them now. But it's one interview about how when people always said you can't sell that over the internet, and then people have, and one of them is this kind of like a look at Zappos and how people told Zappos they couldn't sell shoes, and now people have been telling Casper you can't sell mattresses over the internet, but yet Casper seems to be doing pretty well selling mattresses over the internet. So I don't really think it's worth covering in the show. But if people wanted a little extra material to read, I think that is worth reading. And then there's one more story that I'll just mention highlight-wise, and I'll let you do further reading in the show notes. And you can always submit stories to the Coda Radio subreddit, codaradio.reddit.com. But this is an article about how Google sold engineers on becoming managers. And it talks a little bit about the first few years into the company's life. Larry Page and Sergey Brin actually wondered whether Google needed any managers at all.
Yep.
And in 2002, they experimented with a completely flat organization, eliminating engineering managers in an effort to break down barriers to rapid idea development and replace and replicate a collegial environment they'd enjoyed in graduate school. But it only lasted a few months. They relented when too many people went directly to Page with questions about expense reports, interpersonal conflicts, and nitty-gritty issues. And as the company grew, the founders soon realized that managers contribute in important ways, for instance, by communicating strategy, helping employees prioritize projects, facilitating collaboration, supporting career development, and ensuring that the process and systems aligned with company goals. Google now has lawyers, but not as many as you might expect, with 37,000 employees. But here you go. They have many layers. I'm sorry, not lawyers. 5,000 managers, 1,000 directors, and only 100 vice presidents. Only 100. 5,000 managers, 1,000 directors, and 100 vice presidents. That's pretty intense, but not so bad, I suppose. You think you could work at Google?
No, not in a million years.
Really?
Yep.
Well, what about Microsoft? Do you think you could work at Microsoft?
Absolutely.
Really? What about Apple? Could you see yourself at Apple?
No, I don't think so.
What is it about Microsoft then?
I think Microsoft it's probably more, they feel like they have a more reasonable culture, right?
Definitely
more mature.
I was going to say that, but it seems like it's actually, if anything, probably changing more than it has in recent years.
So the issue I see with Google is they've designed it so you never go home.
Yeah, and I don't like that. Home is a good place.
Yeah, and Apple's a pressure cooker, right? And the thing is, if you're going to be a pressure cooker, why not work for yourself?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, not that you wouldn't have deadlines and pressure at a job, but that kind of pressure seems crazy.
Yeah, I almost wonder if you'd be happier at a smaller company then.
Yeah, so this is all part of this is also about like figuring out what is it that I would actually want to do. I don't know if anybody who listens is hiring, and likes people who hate Linux, call me.
Very nice. There you go. All right, ladies and
Go out
gentlemen.
strong. Yeah.
No, that's good. I think it's a good note to end on right there because, I wouldn't want people to come across thinking that you were an open source advocate or
Nope.
No.
That's how we go. That's how we roll. Hello, everybody. I won't.
I have no more to add to that, Mr. Dominic. I believe you have said enough. All right, well, so next week should be fun, and join us over the weekend. We'll be live Saturday and Sunday over at jblive.tv, streaming Linux Fest Northwest, and I'm sure Mr. Dominic will be stopping by on stream from time to time to say hello to all you lovely people. Mr. Dominic, is there anywhere you'd like to send people throughout the week?
Just go to dominicm.com.
Brilliant. Join us next week, live, Monday, jblive.tv, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And you can hang out in our chat room. We might even open up the mobile room at some point, or we might have folks in studio. Either way, it should be a pretty fun episode. We'll be recording 2 of them. It also means we want your feedback. Go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact and send that in. I picked a longer song to pull us out because we have a lot of information to go through. So go to jupiterbroadcasting.com/contact because we'll be reading twice the amount of emails next week. I saved a couple. Don't worry if you've sent them in. We have them, but we've banked them, like 3 of them. So we're pretty short. And then also coderradio.reddit.com. Get good feedback going over there. And here's what I'd like to ask. If you see if a moment on the live stream that would be great for discussion on the Coder Radio program during Linux Fest Northwest, because we'll be interviewing developers. We'll be interviewing Mr. Dominic from time to time. So I would like, if anybody is a Coder Radio fan and watching these live events and could capture these moments and submit them to the subreddit, then I was thinking for our second episode on Monday, we could go through, or maybe our first episode. We should probably do it the first episode. Like, that could be like our recap episode. And we could use some of those moments as like, sort of like our talking points. Because we're going to be so wiped out. Yeah. We're going to have no idea what happened.
Oh,
so
yeah, it's going to be
a blur. It's going to be a blur.
Yeah.
So people, if they got together and organized on that subreddit and took some screenshots and things like that, or sent them into coderradio at jupiterbroadcasting.com, then when we do our recap episode, we could refer to those moments. That'd be really sweet. And don't forget, get all your BSD jokes in, because Alan's going to be here too. All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for tuning this week's episode of Coder Radio. We'll hope to see you back here next week. Go grab an RSS feed so you get the show every single week, and have a good one.
See you on the Pacific Zone.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh, let's do this.